Well, the Olympic opening ceremonies decided to mock Christianity. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the guy who planned 9/11, is getting a plea deal. Goodness gracious, we've got the white guys for Harris out stumping for Kamala Harris on Zoom calls. Kamala Harris says that she's going to ban firearms in her first 100 days in office via executive action. We've got socialism, unrest because of socialism happening down in Venezuela in a rigged election. The FBI is contradicting the FBI in congressional testimony. We've got a masculinity crisis in America. Goodness gracious, I feel like I'm living in a clown world sometimes. This is nuts, but we got a lot to talk about today. Let's get into it. I'm Jared. This is Continue Freedom. And welcome back to Continue Freedom. If this is your first time here, welcome. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X, Locals, Rumble, and YouTube. I'm going to give you a quick update on the merch. The merch is coming, patriotic merchandise. It's the Devout American clothing line that I had. We did T-shirts and tumblers and all that kind of stuff. I'm revamping that. Go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for my mailing list, and you will be the first people notified whenever that gets launched, and you can get the first crack at all the awesome merch we're going to have because we love our country and we're going to wear it on our bodies. We're going to have it on our mugs. We're going to shout it from the rooftops in every possible way. So anyway, go to continuefreedom.com, sign up for that mailing list. All right, so the Olympics. Oh gosh, this was a nightmare, and I don't know if you guys saw this or not. Most people did. There were millions and millions of views for the folks highlighting it on X, but here we had. Let me go ahead and show this to you. Here we had the opening ceremonies, and they basically did a performance of the Last Supper. But instead of Christ and his disciples, they put a bunch of people in drag, people from the alphabet soup community, and they were intentionally mocking Christianity. And it wasn't just this. They also had the pale horse from the apocalypse riding across the water there in Paris. They're very classy move on their part. And then they walked it back and they said, no, it actually wasn't the Last Supper. Well, the internet sleuths went out there and said, nope, it actually was. We can see how Christ has been depicted through tapestries and other, artistic works over the years. Christ with the halo. And then we've got I don't know if that's a drag queen or a transgender person or just a large person. I don't know exactly what the deal was with that one. But they were clearly trying to depict the Last Supper. It was a blasphemous act. It was a horribly offensive act. And I saw it, yes, I was angry about it at first. And I said, this is just, I get so tired of people taking aim at Christianity all the time. And they do it because we're the easiest people to go after. We're turn the other cheek. We aren't the people who are going to be burning down the buildings, burning down street, setting fires in the streets and shooting people and looting places. Nope. We just take it, and we have been for a very long time. And we just let it, stand as an example of where society in general has been moving, at least in the developed world, in this instance, in Paris. But like I say, we're easy targets for all of this stuff. So I was initially very angry. And then I thought, you know what? It really is a shame. The amount of money that they spent on the animatronics for their satanic, pale horse riding across the water. What could have happened was they could have had a unifying message of sorts. Because the Olympics, that's what they've historically been. It was a diplomatic event in a lot of ways. I saw videos of North Koreans and South Koreans taking photos together at the Olympics. It was really wild. They were all taking selfies with each other. It's competition. It's people that have prepared their whole lives to go to the Olympics and to represent their nation. And what do? They turn it into a clown show. And now here's an interesting meme. I'm going to tell my kids the Olympics had drag racing in 2024. That's basically what it comes down to. But it's not enough. This is the thing that drives me nuts. It's never enough for them to just live their life, do their thing, and stay out of our arena. No, it is imperative to them that they mock us by injecting their, what I consider depravity, but their life choices, their worldview into our religious symbology or symbolism, into our religion. And it happens in the church. They are injecting these things into the church where these things do not belong and where these things are antithetical to biblical teaching. But nonetheless, it is, that's the choice that they made. And I hope that it highlights to a lot of folks out there that this is not some loving, happy movement. This has become a more like a religion than it has a social movement or a movement of people who are, live by an alternative lifestyle. No, no, no. This has become more like a religion. And everybody has. You've Russell Brand has said it recently, but this has been different versions of this have been passed over time. That everybody has a God-sized hole in their heart, and they will fill it with something. You will either fill it with God and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ if you're a Christian. You will fill it with gods if you are some of the polytheistic religions. You will fill it with Allah if you're Islam, if you're a Muslim. You will fill it with narcissism. You will fill it with yourself. You will fill it with sexual depravities. You will fill it with other things. That God-sized hole in your heart will be filled by something. And this movement, the LGBTQ movement, has filled it with narcissism. And it's no longer enough for someone to say, you know what? I'm a Christian. I pray for your soul, and I hope that you find enlightenment through Christ and through God that takes you to a more appropriate worldview, a better worldview, I would honestly say. But you have the right to live this way if you so choose. No, 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 that's not enough. They have to cram it down your throat. And so I did the simple thing. What I hope a lot of Americans did, is they just turned off the Olympics. Just don't watch it. Watch the highlights, but don't give them the airtime. So I boycotted the Olympics. If that's how they think about it, the Olympic Committee had to approve that performance. They knew exactly what was happening. So I just said, I'm just not going to watch it. It's unfortunate, and it overshadows these young people who are competing. These are people that, like I say, have spent their entire lives training to go to the Olympics, and it gets overshadowed by some silly performance that was completely unnecessary. Completely unnecessary. So now, as you guys know, we have Kamala Harris, who is going to be the new presidential candidate. As I said in one of my recent videos, I believe that this was a very unfair way, not for us. I personally don't care, but for Democrat voters. Democrat voters normally would have had an opportunity to use the democratic process to select their candidate, but nope, they don't get the democratic process there. And so when you order Hillary Clinton from Temu, this is what you get. But that's why I say Democrat Party has the most ironic name in politics, because they've just completely bypassed the democratic process. And what type of individuals, what type of gentlemen are out there supporting Kamala Harris and stumping for Kamala Harris? Well, it's beta males who I would venture to say hate themselves, but it's beta males. Beta males are out here stumping for Kamala Harris, saying that you have to vote for her simply because she's a woman. And now, it depends on who she's talking to, but they say a woman of color, or they've been saying a black woman, but she's not a black woman. She's Jamaican and Indian. So it just depends. She is a political chameleon. We saw similar things out of Hillary Clinton, right? And she's already started doing the same stuff. She is contorting her voice if she's talking to Southern people. And she is, one moment, she doesn't correct anybody when they say, oh, she's a black woman. No, because it plays well for her. But then when she was on with the girl from The Office, the Indian girl, oh yeah, I'm Indian. So a political chameleon is not it's a disingenuous person. It's someone who tries to become something they are not, who plays the identity politics game in a manner that benefits them. And this group of white dudes for Trump, white dudes for Harris, is essentially saying you'd have to vote for her simply because she's a black woman or a woman of color. And because we need a woman, and everybody wants to be the party of firsts, right? They say we've got the first black man. Okay, well, he wrecked our economy, he wrecked our country, wrecked our healthcare system, and he was a executive order machine, just dictating with the pen. Okay, well, that didn't work out too well for us, did it? Didn't work out well for race relations in this country. So now they say we got to have a black woman who comes in, and I have no issue if you have somebody qualified who comes in to run for president, and provided in my instance it's a Republican, I would 100% vote for him. I care about the quality of the person's work. I care about their ideals. I care about their capability to lead the free world. your immutable characteristics are not, those are not defining characteristics for a president. If your genitals and your melanin in your skin do not qualify you to run for president. Now, you can look at her record, and her record is abysmal. Her record shows that in California, she used prison inmates as slave labor, kept them past their sentences so that she could use them as slave labor. Does that sound like a discerning mind to you? She was notorious for maximum sentences for people with small amounts of drugs. And then she goes on The Breakfast Club and gets interviewed and talks about how she used to smoke weed and laughs about it and cackles about it, even though she had put thousands of people in prison for innocuous amounts of drugs. She is a disingenuous person. And, some of the people, there's a guy with a man bun here who he was in this article, and he was saying that White Dudes for Harris host says people felt uncomfortable about the call. Says when white men have organized in America, it has often been with pointy hats, and he was saying that was, or making that a reference, of course, to the Ku Klux Klan. And this is the same guy who says that men providing for women is an outdated idea, that men being providers for women is an outdated idea. Only the things that have run civilization and have guided civilization for millennia. No. This guy with the man bun, he's the one who says, now, you know what? We've moved beyond that. We've progressed so much further as a society. We've progressed so far as a society and reached such a high level of enlightenment that we will tell boys to become girls and girls to become boys, and we will make them play dress up, and then we will carve up their genitals, and we will do horrific things to them, all in the name of, I don't know, enlightenment? Is that what we're supposed to believe? Never trust a guy with a man bun. Never trust a guy with a man bun. But this White Dudes for Harris call was... It was absolutely cringe, and rightfully so. The internet struck back at them, letting them know just how cringeworthy this thing was. And there's a White Women for Harris as well. So the White Women for Harris, essentially it was 100,000 people that got on a Zoom call, and they swooned over white privilege and how white women need to check themselves, and they get lectured to by these vacuous, suburban moms who it's one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life. Here, let's watch a quick little clip of this.
This election. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it. And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too.
Oh, yeah.
So
you're
first,
bad.
Don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are tonight, because the toxic feels smaller when we support each other.
Oh, gosh, come on.
Don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes. If you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I can't listen to any more of that. Who wants to be spoken to like that? How patronizing. Talking down to people. You're infantilizing people. You're talking to them like they're children. And this was hundreds of thousands of women out there listening to this woman use this soft, sweet language and talk down to everybody because you're white and you're bad. Oh, it's disgusting. Who thinks that this is a proper way to communicate with their fellow citizens? Talk to people like they're adults. We can have adult conversations. That is a completely immature woman lecturing people on how they should check their privilege and how they should think less of themselves because of their skin color. Oh, it's infuriating. It's infuriating. I know the people that listen to this, y'all are informed people. Now, you might not pay attention to politics in the same level that I pay attention to it, but you know what's going on in this world. Why in the world would somebody ever talk down to? It's just, I don't know. I don't even know. Who wants to be spoken to that way? And of course, they're trying to get elected the first black woman or Indian woman, I don't know which, it depends on the day, Kamala Harris. And what does Kamala Harris want to do? Well, Kamala Harris says if Congress doesn't do something in the first 100 days, then she's going to sign executive orders to ban assault-style weapons. All right, there you go. The first 100 days. Now, she doesn't have the power to do this. First off, Kamala Harris doesn't have the power to do that. But as is the MO for the Democrat Party, typically what they'll do is they will sign an executive order that they know is either unconstitutional or that's not going to pass muster. They will try to enforce it to some level. And federal law enforcement has already proven to us, the FBI has proven, the DEA, all these folks are perfectly willing to ignore the Constitution. Just look at the pistol brace law that was written by the ATF. And they said, oh, yeah, okay, we get it. This wasn't a law that was passed by Congress, but we are going to enforce it. And so if we want to arrest millions of people, we are perfectly capable of doing so. But they pencil whipped a piece of a memo, turned it into law, made tens of millions of people felons overnight. Obviously, that's unconstitutional. So I say that to say that Kamala Harris can pencil whip an executive order. When she pencil whips that executive order, she gets the federal agents in the DEA, the ATF, the FBI, whatever it happens to be. If they get somebody, they can use it as a sentence modifier. They could just, if they get a wild hair, go out and arrest somebody who they believe has a pistol brace. And then those people will fight it in the court system. They will have to fight something that is completely unconstitutional because Kamala Harris out of the blue said, you know what, I need some political clout. So I'm going to make assault weapons illegal. I'm going to have people arrested for this. These people are then going to have to fight it in the court system. They're going to go broke. They're going to lose all their money. And it doesn't really matter to me because I get the political points. Do we think that is outside the realm of possibility for someone like Kamala Harris? The same person who, as I said before, used prisoners for slave labor, kept them beyond their sentences for slave labor, and to juice her numbers, arrested thousands and thousands of people. When thousands and thousands of people were arrested for small amounts of marijuana, absolutely threw the book at them. And then goes on the Breakfast Club and laughs about smoking weed herself. No, she wouldn't have any problem with that. You know why? Because conservatives they're not like real people, Conservatives, Republicans. It's not just that that's the political opposition. We're the enemy. We are the enemy. So this is the course of action. If she's able to get something like this passed, yeah, that's it. But here, you have to understand too, though, folks. If a president can come in and do this, a weapon is simply a tool, right? Whether it's a weapon or a car, both of them can unalive someone. But you could take that same rule or law or whatever and you could make kale chips and soy milk a felony if you own those, right? They're readily available everywhere. It's in all your, health food stores and all that stuff. You can have kale chips and almond milk. And Donald Trump could come out and say, nope, it's a felony to own that stuff. They could arrest you. One's just as arbitrary as the other. That's not the kind of authority that we want the president of the United States to have. If a law is going to be passed, it has to be done by Congress. This is why I get really irritated with the overuse of executive action. And honestly, most Republicans say, yeah, Trump's going to get in. He'll do a lot of it with executive action. And yet if Kamala Harris comes in and starts doing stuff with executive action, they're going to be doing cheetah flips over it. Executive action is overused, overused, overused. Now, the Second Amendment is still incredibly important. Now, you could argue the laws that should or should not be passed and whether we should have red flag laws and all that stuff, which obviously I believe we should not under any circumstances. But why is it so important? Because we as a country are moving closer and closer to socialism. And we have seen this on display. We've seen it not just in the recent issues with Venezuela, but we have a history of socialism disarming the population because the greatest guard against socialism is an armed populace. Thankfully, our founding fathers had the forethought to put it into our Bill of Rights and say, nope, this cannot be amended, edited, period, right? And in down in Venezuela, now there's uprisings that are starting, and it is, oh boy, it's getting dicey because, oddly enough, they had this very nefarious, and the State Department even believes that this is a nefarious situation where Maduro had his opposition, right? His opposition was winning big time. And then all of a sudden, he decided to shut down all the counting stations overnight. And when everybody awoke in the morning, Maduro was winning. Could you imagine if that ever happened in America? Big ballot dumps in the middle of the night. Could you imagine if that had ever happened in an American election? What would happen? I mean, our politicians would be going nuts. All of our representatives would be going nuts. This is the socialist playbook. It is the socialist playbook. He cannot give up power. And now people are tearing down his statues, him being Maduro, Nicolas Maduro. And thankfully, we have some other presidents that are coming out and chastising them over this. In this instance, oh gosh, I just forgot his name. Javier Milei. Oh, he's one of my favorites. I love this guy. But Javier Milei issued a statement confirming that Venezuela's socialist president Nicolas Maduro has lost and that Argentina will not recognize another fraudulent election. Good for him. And I'm going to assume that in El Salvador, Bukele is going to probably do the same thing. These are two guys who have become very outspoken against socialism, against big government, against government control. And, you know, it's the constant churning of socialism comes in, and Venezuela's been trying it for, I believe, 20 years. They wreck the economy. People start losing weight because people are missing meals. They get desperate, and all that socialists have to do, man, they've got to hang on to that power. They have to. And so he's deployed his military out into the streets to quell the rebellion. But you know what? People are even his own folks are saying, no, I'm not doing this. Here you've got Venezuelan, allegedly, police officers in Venezuela are reportedly removing their uniforms and joining the protesters against Maduro after he claimed victory in an allegedly fraudulent election. And when America falls, we're going to have something similar, right? We're going to see the fall of this country, and to maintain order, the military will be used, federal law enforcement will be used, and that's when we will find out who is friend versus who is foe. The police in certain places, I feel pretty confident about Tennessee. Tennessee is going to maintain a secure area for us to live, and they're going to, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, these places are going to be relatively safe. But we are going to find out which military members are willing to turn guns, turn firearms, to quell their own people from taking back their government from a socialist dictator or whoever it happens to be. We are going to find out which FBI agents and which DEA agents and all the federal law enforcement, hundreds of thousands of them, which ones are loyal to the Constitution, which ones are loyal to we the people. I pray to God that doesn't happen in my lifetime, but it will happen eventually. It has to. You can't do what we've been doing with our currency, with our economy, with our massive federal government. You can't keep doing these things without having some sort of a fall. We hit $34 trillion in debt. We only make 25 trillion. Is that right? Is that our GDP? Not make. Or 25 trillion is our entire GDP. Or 27 trillion, whatever it is. Eventually, we're going to have a fall. And they know this. The government knows this. This is the modern monetary theory programming behind this let me put it this way. You know why they're printing more and more and more money? Because if you have a booming economy and people are able to transition from one class to the other, that's not a good thing for them. They need to keep people down. They can't have people coming up into the upper class, making too much money, gaining too much influence. So they print more money, make what you do have worth less, make your paycheck worth less, make you a bit more desperate. Slowly over time, they want you to become entirely reliant on the federal government. What they have done to the black community with the welfare system is what they want to happen across the entire country. Bar none, no questions asked. That's their end goal. And as you get closer and closer to that, eventually people will start missing meals. Things will get unruly, and we'll see. I think right now we're in a situation where the states need to start taking some action as it is and say, look, this federal government has gotten way too out of control. That's the fail-safe that the founding fathers gave us. But the question is, are we going to be able to corral enough states together to take some action to limit the scope of the power of the federal government? Are we going to be able to get the states to do that before the people at the top just run us completely into the ground? We shall see. We shall see. But I love seeing socialism lose. It's fantastic. And we have to remember, as things get bad, this is a very great meme that was posted by Franklin Graham. Once elected, I will be a vegetarian, says the wolf. These folks are telling us a lot of garbage. They're telling us a lot of there's a lot of fluff out there in political lingo. We have to rekindle, and I will say this, I'll try to say it in every episode. We have to rekindle our skepticism in the federal government. We've become far too trusting of the federal government, and that was never the intention of the founding fathers. We have got to be skeptical at all times. At all times. Because they don't have our best interest. Well, let's put it this way. We talk about federal law enforcement. The FBI, it's been 18 days, I've lost count, however many days it's been, since Donald Trump had an assassination attempt on him. They still haven't given us any additional information. And now they're contradicting themselves. This federal government isn't going to be there to protect us, right? There's another reason we need the Second Amendment. They can't even protect the president. They can't give us a detailed description of what actually happened to the president of the United States when someone tried to assassinate him. And so the FBI Director Wray said, this was in his testimony, said, we're still trying to determine if it was a bullet or if it was shrapnel off a teleprompter or something to that effect. Well, the deputy director says, there never has been doubt Trump was hit by a bullet, despite Director Wray spreading shrapnel conspiracy. So if they are willing to say, you know what, it might have been shrapnel, and spread that conspiracy around, that conspiracy does nothing but help the Democrats politically. Why? Because it's far less grandiose if Donald Trump was hit by a little piece of glass than if a bullet ripped through his right ear. That is playing politics with the FBI. Skeptical of the federal government. They have zero problem lying to you. Zero problem lying to you. And I'm going to end on this was a fascinating, absolutely fascinating find from the internet. And the Democrat Party, we know a key component of their platform is abortion, right? Abortion rights. And they say it's women's health care, so on and so forth. Well, the big thing they've been fighting now is mifepristone, and mifepristone is the abortion drug. So this is what they are shipping out, mailing out all around the country is mifepristone. And let's do a history on mifepristone. RU 486, it comes from Roussel Ucloff, which is a company, right? RU 486, aka mifepristone, is an invention of the Nazis. Crazy to think. And let me give this a very interesting history. So RU 486 showed up in France in the 1980s and in the U.S. in 2000. The majority stakeholder of Roussel Ucloff, again, RU 486 is Roussel Ucloff 486. The majority shareholder of that company was Hoechst AG. Hoechst AG was a co-founder of IG Farben. Do you know what IG Farben created? Zyklon B. In case you didn't know, Zyklon B is what they used to gas Jewish people in Nazi Germany. And IG Farben used to be the largest company in Germany, and it was the largest chemical company in the world. And the heads of the cartel for this company were tried for war crimes, but they were all released. And then after the war, what happens? It was split up. The company was split up into BASF, Bayer. You know Bayer. Everybody's seen commercials for Bayer over the years, and Hoechst. And these are the companies that give you mifepristone. So they went from gassing Jewish people to killing babies in the wombs of mothers. Tell me that is not frightening. You can jumble up and shake up all the little power players and all the nefarious intent for these people. But at the end of the day, the ideology is still supporting Planned Parenthood. They're supporting the pharmaceutical companies, which are committing infanticide. And it's the same people who were gassing Jews, killing millions of Jews in Nazi Germany, are the same ones killing millions of babies, innocent babies in mothers' wombs today. This is the type of depravity that we're up against, folks. This is why we can't take anything out of a politician's mouth at face value. We have to look, and I'm going to keep doing this for you guys, keep looking as many levels deep as I possibly can. But this is what's at stake, and why the leaders that we need to elect, why it's so important that we find folks that aren't embedded into this political system. Because this political system has a lot of nefarious actors behind it. From racists to eugenicists to people that literally seeking world domination, like the BlackRocks, State Street and Vanguard conglomerate. There's some nefarious stuff out there, and we need people that have our best interests at heart. Truly have our best interests at heart. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave comments below. We're on X Locals, Rumble, and YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next video. Love you.